everyone. I'm Jackie Ashburner and I am a donkey specific trainer here in southeastern Arizona. So the Trainers Tip Tuesday is starting today, which is amazing. I am super excited to be able to share my knowledge with all of you guys and hopefully help you to help your donkeys. So the first topic is trailer loading. I started my program about a year ago and it is called Ears to the Sky Training and Art. So you are welcome to follow that page as well. So you can kind of follow along my progress with all of the donkeys that I get into train. But our first topic is trailer loading. So I will be using two different donkeys. They will react completely different to the trailer. Neither of them have ever been loaded. One was loaded once to get here and the other one was born at our place and we've never trained her yet. So they'll be perfect examples on how I train the donkeys to load. You guys might not all agree with my method, but I find it to be the easiest way to teach a donkey to confidently load in the trailer and to do it very consistently. So unfortunately, I am running out of time a little bit this morning, so I will kind of be piecing together my video, so it might not be in the best format. Next month will be a lot better, but this will give you a brief insight into how I teach this specific task. And then you guys are welcome to ask any questions that you may need to clarify, because you might need to clarify a little bit as my video is running a little bit out of time. But I'm super excited to share with you guys all of my knowledge, and hopefully you guys will find it super helpful and be able to progress with your donkeys a little bit more than you have in the past. I know this is a task that a lot of people struggle with. So I'm super excited about this new program that is going on. And let's get started. When I am teaching a donkey to load in the trailer, I have a few basic things that I like to cover beforehand. So I want my donkey to be able to lead. They have to have an understanding of the pressure and release. So that'll make the trailer loading itself a lot easier. I also want them to not be scared of the trailer. I want to be able to walk them around the trailer. I want to be able to walk them up to the back of the trailer without them freaking out in any way, because you cannot teach a donkey out of fear. It's pointless to try to teach them something when all they're thinking about is how scared they are of that certain task. So here you can see that I am working with Miss Valentina and making sure that she's going to walk around the trailer. She's going to walk up to the back of the trailer, and I'm not going to ask too much of her. So I also reward a lot with treats. Every time she does something that I want her to do, she's going to be rewarded with a treat, because I want her to know that that is what I'm asking. So the first step of me actually loading them in the trailer is I like to walk in and use a pretty decently long lead rope, and I like to wrap it around one of the bars in the trailer. I do not wrap it tight. This is to keep the donkey from dragging me out of the trailer, not to drag them into the trailer. So here you can see she's thinking about it. She is the donkey that has never been loaded before. She was born at our place and we just never got around to teaching her this task. She is actually going to her new home on the 13th, so it is now time for her to learn this task so she can be successful in her new home. But here you can see that lead is always loose. I am just keeping it at a certain length so she cannot drag me out of the trailer if she decides to pull back, because donkeys are incredibly strong. So every time I kind of ask with my hand, and every time she kind of gives me what I want, I release. And then I will ask again until she kind of gives me a little bit of what I am wanting from her. So here you can see she's trying to come forward, but she has no concept of what I'm asking. She doesn't understand that she has to step up onto it. So this donkey is a great example of one of the two types of donkeys that I have encountered when it comes to trailer loading. So a donkey will either be just like this one, and she'll kind of almost freeze and not, she doesn't fight at all. She doesn't know what you're wanting. So she's just going to kind of freeze there. And right here, you can really see that she's not really trying to come forward at all. She's not trying anything. So that's not technically a bad thing. It does make it harder when they have this type of personality though. Usually, I have not come across as many with this type of problem, but this is the harder one of the two to learn the loading the way I teach. It does still work, it just takes a little bit longer. So this girl, it took her about 17-ish minutes to get to the end of our lesson for the day. Usually it does not take this long, but with a donkey like this, it did, and that's totally okay. At the end of the first day, I like to make sure that they are loading without me wrapping the lead rope at all. They're kind of coming with my pressure. And then I'm going to give them a few days off after this so that they can kind of process everything that just happened. And then I will start the process all over again. And usually they have it down after day 1. But sometimes it can take up to 2 or 3 days. Sometimes it can take up to a week. It depends your donkey and how confident they are and if they are really understanding what you're asking. That's why whenever you see me kind of pulling, I pull until she gives me just a little bit of what I'm wanting, and then I'm going to release. If the solid pressure is not working, then I might try to bump them a little bit, kind of like what I'm doing here. I kind of pull and release all at once. She is a little bit more difficult. Right here you can see that she stepped up. As soon as she steps up, I'm going to give her a treat because she is having a harder time. The harder the donkey is being, the more frequently I'm going to reward so that they're really understanding what I'm asking. As you can see, she's taking a little bit longer to get in the trailer than what I would hope for, but she's also loading for the very first time ever. I don't want them to rush in and rush out. I want them to be confident. So I'm letting her sit there for a little bit. Once she gets in, I'm going to give her lots of treats and let her just sit there for a minute. I'm not just going to immediately ask her to get out. I don't want her to immediately rush out as soon as she gets in because that can be a dangerous behavior. And it also shows that she's not confident at all. She's scared to be in there, and I don't want that. I want to reinforce the behavior of her being in the trailer. I want to reinforce the confidence that she has in the trailer. So while she's in there, I'll give her a few treats and I'll just let her relax. But she's still in the process of getting in there. So I just wait until she finally gets all 4 feet in, and then that's when she'll have the big release, and that's when she'll get all of the treats. When I am doing this task, I always tighten up the lead rope a little bit as I go. I don't keep it tight the way that they can't pull back at all. I want her to have the ability to take a few steps backwards. I just also want the ability to not be dragged out of the trailer if she decides she wants to keep going backwards. So I always leave the lead rope a little bit long so that it's me pulling her. It's not me using the trailer to drag her in. It's my pressure that is asking her to come forward. If I use the trailer, then that's pretty much just dragging her in, and I don't want that. I need her to think through what's happening. So I always ask a little bit, and then I kind of give it a little bit of a break as soon as she gives me what I'm wanting. Most donkeys at this point, they will kind of pull back a little bit. This is a method that I only use for donkeys, and I would never use for a horse because horses are kind of dumb and they would pull back and they would hurt themselves. Donkeys are incredibly smart, and even though they may pull back a little bit, they would never put themselves in danger. So this is the only reason why I like to use this method for donkeys. It's quick, and even though it might take a little bit longer for some, it is definitely a lot quicker than a lot of the other methods I've tried. I do use a whole bunch of different methods for loading the different donkeys depending on their personality type, but this is the method that I could use on any one of them and it would work. Even though it might not work as well for one as it would for the other, I am confident that this method would work very well for every donkey that I would try it on. This is also a great way to load them if you are in an emergency and you have to load them quickly. But instead of giving them the option of going backwards if they want to and not pulling them in, you can kind of use the rope as more of like a come along, and then I'll get them in the trailer pretty quickly. It's a safe way to get them in by yourself especially if you don't have a lot of help, because a lot of times am doing all of this stuff by myself. I don't have people out here to help me. So if I have an emergency and I need to get this donkey loaded quickly, I would use exactly this method, except I would use it as more of a come along, and I would more of the donkey would not have such an option to come in. It would more of be kind of like pulled in. So with my training method, I want them to come in on their own. But if it was an emergency, they would just be getting in one way or another. So here you could see I left her in the trailer for a little bit. I let her be confident with it. You can see she's a little bit nervous getting out, but I let her get out at her own pace. I don't drag her out. Like I said, I want her to be confident in the trailer. She gets lots of treats to be rewarded for coming out nicely and kind of doing what I'm asking. And then usually after the first time, I like to take them for a little walk again, just to kind of get their mind off of it, especially if it was a little stressful on them. If it wasn't stressful, then that is amazing. And most donkeys do not get super stressed by that, but unfortunately she did get a little bit stressed, so I take her for a little walk, get her mind off of it. And then when I come back, we will try again. And usually it is a whole lot quicker that second time we try. The whole reason why I use the bar to kind of hold the lead rope is because donkeys are a whole lot stronger than I am. So it is important for me to kind of keep calm, and I'm not trying to drag the donkey in. If I try dragging her in, she's going to kind of like brace herself and do kind of the opposite of what I'm asking. So instead of trying to drag her in, I'm just using the pressure and release, the exact same thing she learned when she was learning to lead. And every time she kind of takes a step forward, then she gets the release. And that is very, very, very beneficial if you are wanting to start obstacles or anything like that. I usually teach the trailer loading very first, because I do have the leverage of keeping them from dragging me out of the trailer. And they learn to step up. They learn to kind of come to the pressure a little bit more. This helps with leading. And this will help tremendously with going over obstacles like a bridge or something that they kind of have to step up onto that they might not be super confident with. It will help them to not try to pull back as much. It'll help them to understand that when they come forward, that's when they get the release. That's when they get their reward. And honestly, this is one of the first things that any donkey should learn. It's very helpful with absolutely anything, and it's a whole lot easier to teach them beforehand instead of dealing with it whenever there is an emergency. So here you can see I'm using a little bit extra pressure because she's absolutely not fazed by it at all. She's not trying, she's just standing there, and that right there is why it's a little bit harder to work with a donkey like this than it is to work with one that's a little bit more reactive. The more reactive ones load a whole lot faster. Like right here, you can see she reacted a little bit, and that got her into the trailer a whole lot quicker than when she was just standing there. And the more reactive ones are a lot easier to work for that reason. Here, she got into the trailer a lot quicker than she did the previous times. So like I did last time, I'm just going to sit there, give her a few treats, pet on her a little bit, let her know that that is a safe spot to be, and then I'm going to let her out. So this donkey is actually the first donkey ever that I have ever worked with that decided that she does not like to come out facing forward. She wants to back herself out. And for that reason, I let her. I'm not going to try to get her to turn around. I'm going to let her do whatever she's most confident with. She's not unsafe by trying to run out backwards. She's very, very calm about it. So I'm just going to let her do it just like that. When I am first teaching them to load in the trailer, there is no reason to get them all frustrated with it. There's no reason to rush them. There is absolutely no reason to lose your patience. If you do, that's going to make it a whole lot harder on them. So your calmness, your presence, your ability to stay calm and reward them when they need to be rewarded, that is what is going to get you the best results. So usually when I'm teaching them to trailer load, I only do it 3 times that first day. But I also like to get them to the point where they are pretty confident with it before I quit. So in this case, I think I actually loaded her about 5 times before I called it a day. Just for her sake. I want her to be confident with it, and then she's going to get a few days off, and in probably about 3 or 4 days I'm going to get her out again and work with it just like I did today. Except next time I am expecting her to not put up such a fight. She's probably going to hesitate a little bit, which I expect completely. It usually takes about 3 lessons, I'd say, for them to be pretty confident just loading right on up. But the next time I work with her, I expect her to be a lot quicker about it, and it's probably only going to take about two times of her loading for me to call it quits, because I want her to load pretty easily without me wrapping the rope. I want her to walk in with a little pressure on my end, and once she does that, then I call it quits for the day. So in this case, you saw she loaded a whole lot quicker than the time before that. And what you should be seeing is a pattern. Every time that she loads into the trailer, she will load up a little bit quicker. And then the next time it'll be even quicker than that. Right now, I am letting her do kind of what she wants to do. I'm letting her, if she wants to back out, she can back out. If she wants to kind of stay in the trailer for a little bit, she can. The whole point of this is to build her confidence. The whole first about 3 lessons is just going to be building her confidence, not about technique. I don't want to scare her into doing anything, and I most definitely do not want to rush her. If I rush her, that's going to put a lot of stress on her. That's going to make her a lot more worried than she should be when it comes to loading. So here you saw she loaded pretty easily with her front feet. She doesn't want to load her back feet, so I do wrap it right about here, just so that I do have the leverage in case she decides she wants to go backwards again. And then after this, I let her come out and we take a little walk, just because she did very good these last couple times. I want her to realize she's doing a great job, and then I will try again. And the next time is actually our last time, because she loads right on up, and I don't have to wrap the rope. She does it all on her own. I don't use a ton of pressure with her, and she is understanding it decently. She understands what I'm wanting. She's understanding how to get the treats. She's very calm about it. She's not scared, and that is what it's all about. I believe that taking them on walks kind of to break up our session is an excellent way to kind of get their mind on me, to focus more on what I'm asking rather than the specific task that they may be a little bit worried about. So here she did excellent. I'm going to load her one more time, but I needed to break that up just before I asked her to load one more time, because I don't want to fry her brain. I want her to be thinking. I want her to be having fun with what we're doing. So going on a little walk kind of breaks up our session. It puts her mind back on me rather than kind of being a little bit worried. And here you can see she practically just loads right on up. And that is exactly what I look for the first time for our first lesson. And then I call it quits right about there. I want her to be very confident with everything I ask of her. And here you can see she loaded almost perfectly. And of course, in the next few sessions, I'll ask her to be a little bit more smooth with it. I'll ask her to not hesitate so much, maybe walk a little bit more next to me. But as long as she's loading like that, for me, that is perfectly fine. I don't care for them to load right next to me. I don't care for them to do all of those fancy things. I just want her to load calmly. And if she wants to lead a little bit behind me, I personally don't care. This was an excellent first lesson for her, and I couldn't have asked for anything more. I'm super, super proud of the progress that she made today. And next time I will make probably quite a bit more progress, and she will only gain confidence from here. This next donkey that I will be working with is Jojo. He came to us as a pretty young baby, and that was the only time he's ever been loaded. He's a little bit more nervous about certain things, and he has not had as much confidence building when he was little. But since he is a baby, he's super friendly. I'm not worried about him at all. He is a little bit more of the reactive type, so that will be great to show these two very different donkeys' reactions. So with this one in specific, he's one that's more reactive. I'm going to wrap the lead rope around one of the bars in the trailer, and he is one that is going to pull back a little bit. And that makes it 10 times easier, because when they pull back, they kind of realize that they can't go anywhere and their only option is forward. And it also usually kind of helps them build momentum, and a good portion of these reactive donkeys, they'll kind of rear up and kind of just find themselves in the trailer without even meaning to. So this donkey is a great example for that. Right here, I'm starting the exact same. I'm kind of wrapping it around the bar, and I leave the lead rope loose enough that I can ask him to come in confidently. I'm not using the trailer to pull him in. I'm using only my pressure. But right here, you can see he pulled back and he realized he couldn't go anywhere. Donkeys that are more on the reactive side will probably pull back a few times. It's not just a one-time thing. They like to test it. They like to make sure that they can't back their way out. And that is why I like to wrap it, so that when they decide that they want to go backwards, they cannot drag me out of the trailer. Because like I said, they are way strong. This donkey is very young. He's very little. And if he wanted to, he could drag me out of the trailer, no problem. So this is just kind of for my safety and kind of to help him learn just a little bit quicker. Right here, you can see I'm not doing anything. I'm not dragging him in. He's kind of just learning on his own that he can't go backwards. Right there, you saw him rear up, and that is what is going to kind of set him in the trailer. He's going to rear up and kind of just find himself in the trailer, which is a lot easier than Miss Valentina, who kind of just stood there, and she had to be more convinced to walk in on her own because she didn't fight so much. And there is the good and the bad to both of that. I prefer to work with the more reactive type because they learn so much quicker. But the others are a lot calmer, and usually once they get in the trailer, they are not nervous at all. They are usually very already confident. You don't have to build their confidence so much. This little guy was actually very good because once he figured out how to get in the trailer, he did it all on his own, and he was confident. He wasn't super nervous like most of the reactive type are. Here, he made it his 2 front feet in. I give him a treat, and then I'm going to ask him to come in the rest of the way. And as you can see, that is absolutely no problem for him. It's kind of just getting that first step that first time. It's very scary. They don't understand how to step up. So this is kind of a perfect example of the 2 very different types of donkeys that you might be working with yourself. Just like I did with Valentina, I'm going to give Jojo some treats, let him kind of just relax in there. And this is what I love to see. He's not rushing out. He's kind of just walking out on his own terms. Right there, he's a little bit scared of the bale of hay I have my phone propped up onto. That's why he was giving that worried look. But he did very, very well. He was not super nervous, so this next time I'm going to ask him again without going for a walk. And then after this, I will take him for a walk and I get his mind off of everything and ask him a 3rd time. For him, it only took 3 times, and he loaded perfectly that 3rd time. Here, in this second try of him loading in the trailer, the halter is a little bit too big for him, so it came kind of into his mouth a little bit. So I do recommend when you are working with this task that you use a halter that fits super well. I do have halters that fit very well. I was in a rush this morning though, so I kind of just grabbed the halter that I had. I do not recommend using a halter that is too big, just for the purpose of your donkey. You don't want them to get hurt in any way. It didn't hurt him in any way, but at the same time, he wasn't like super fond of it, so I just thought make sure that was fixed before I moved on. Once we got that fixed, you can see he loaded pretty dang easy, and then I'm going to let him out and we're going to go for a little walk and make sure that he's kind of having a good time and kind of focused on me. That makes sure that they're still leading with me, and if I take them out and I ask them to go on a walk and he immediately starts not leading and all of that good stuff, then that's when I know there's a problem. He's kind of shut down, and I would have to work through that before I would even try trailer loading again. That is why I recommend that they lead pretty good and they're not scared of the trailer at all before we start, because you don't want them to shut down in the middle. Their shutdown can look a whole lot different, but most donkeys, when they shut down, they just won't do what you're asking because they aren't processing. You ask them to lead, they're not going to lead because they don't they might know how to lead, but they aren't processing everything that is happening. So here he's leading great. I walk right back into the trailer and he practically just loads right on up, which is exactly what I look for in a donkey. And that right there is why I like the more reactive types better, because they learn so much quicker. But they both did excellent. These are both great examples of loading donkeys in the trailer. I hope that all of that made sense. This video is too long to post on Facebook, so it'll be here on YouTube. But hopefully this helped a lot of people. If any of you all have any questions, feel free to comment and I will do the best that I can to answer those questions for you. This is definitely a great program that has been started.